Hello, Maria Elena. How are you?
Hello, teacher.
Is
I'm good,
everything?
teacher. How are you?
That's great. Everything is fine. Thanks. I believe that your partners are going to join soon. I hope so. Perhaps it's Friday and everybody wants to rest, right? But we're going to try to
Sorry,
finish
teacher.
the class.
Can you wait me a second, please?
Yeah, yeah, of course, Maria Elena.
Teacher?
Hello, Maria Elena.
Okay,
I'm here.
sorry.
Oh, okay, perfect. So we're going to be with the class, right? We're going to start
I'm
with
sorry,
Jaime
Jose.
here.
I'm here.
There you go. Yes. So we're going to start with your presentation, Jaime. I'm just going to let you know that this is going to be today's topic. This is going to be the Cambridge test. But before this, please let's work with your presentation so that we can have
Okay.
everything ready.
It's hard to recognize you without beer.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm different right now, right?
Okay. Let me. Can I share?
Yes, yes, you can. Just
Okay.
in case I'm going to check this one. Okay, there you go.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to ask you please 10 seconds right now. I'm going to look for the
It's 10 minutes,
stopwatch.
right?
Yes, that's correct. 10 minutes. Now
Okay.
I'm looking for the stopwatch. I'm going to let you know when the stopwatch is ready and you're going to start. Okay?
Okay.
Give me a second. It's loading. And there you go. Okay, so whenever you're ready, you can start.
Okay. Go.
Great.
Good afternoon. My name is Jaime Arevalo Encinas, and I will be presenting an introduction, a debate, basically in a presentation. Swimming or running? Which one is better? Before I begin with the presentation, I will say that, in my opinion, and I will show you why, I think swimming is the best. It's better than running. Okay.
Okay.
But which is the most complete like sport in the world? That's a big interrogative. Like any battle on the world, it's a battle between land and water. It's which one is better. One is developed in the water, the other is developed in the air, at the air, like the environment. One is an aerobic exercise, the other is an anaerobic exercise. So let's gonna see which one it's better, and it will depend of these parameters that I will introduce you. First, it's good to know that what is each one. Running, running is one of the most famous sports around the world, if it's not the famous one. And is the most practiced sport, and the one that has more amateur and professional events in each country around the world, globe. It's basically the first thing that you do when you go to school, when you do physical education. You have to run when you. It's a normal thing than a human being, and also it's important to know that is the first sport that a human being practices, and after he or she learn how to walk, because we crawl, then we walk, then we run. That's the cycle of life. And it's also important to remark that it's not a expensive, if you want to say, sport. You just need a pair of shoes, maybe and sports shoes, and you can run anywhere. You don't depend on a specific place to practice this. On the other hand, swimming together with running, they are the kings of the Olympic Games. they're basically the sports that gives the more medals in the games, and if you dominate this sport, basically you will be the champion of the games. That's the reason why most of the times United States win the games, because they have they have Michael Phelps on the last years, and they also have an amazing Olympic team in track and field and swimming. Um, it is also one of the most famous sports around the world. It's not maybe the most practiced, but it's practiced for a lot of people. It's a requirement of life. You need to know how to swim, basically, if you want to go anywhere. We're surrounded by water. It's important to know that swimming is not only a sport that is recommended to burn calories and these things. It's also a therapy. It's a way it's a way of life, and it's also recommended to heal and recover your body if you have had an injury before. Like I told you, swimming more than sport is a therapy. Maybe the negative part of swimming is that it's more expensive than running. You need special things like goggles, cap, your swimsuit, and also you depend on water. You cannot practice it anywhere. For example, in the quarantine, for me it was hard to swimming because I didn't have a pool in my home or my house, so I couldn't do it. But I ran a lot, so that's what I'm doing. This compare. It's gonna see the first parameter to compare: cardiovascular work. They're pretty similar in this field, but everything depends on the level of practice that you have, that each one, the level of practice that you give to each one. Two parameters in this field are important, and these are the frequency and the intensity. Frequency is how often you practice each one. Intensity is how hard you give this practice, you know. Like I told you, you cannot compare, but let's gonna make a compare of in the same, if you practice the same frequency and the same intensity of both sports, swimming will be always the most demanding on this field because, like I told you, like I said at the beginning, it's an anaerobic sport. So you don't have presence of air all the exercise. So in that way, that obviously increase your heart rate because you have to burn and you need oxygen to move your body basically. So that will increase your heart rate and make you have a cardiovascular work more intense than running. If we do the same intensity, like I say, I'm saying frequency of this sport, the boat sport. So in this field, swimming is the winner. Lose weight. These two are very similar also in this field. Both are recommended as a cardio exercise in order to lose weight. Both burn more calories than any other sport. But where swimming beat running is in the demanding of that each one has, you know. I will give you an example. If you swim for an hour and not a fast pace, a normal pace, you can burn maybe 1,000 calories for this hour. But to catch this number, running will need to run. In running, we will need to run at least 10K in a good pace, and that's not easy to do for a normal person. But a normal person can go to the swimming pool and swim a normal pace and for an hour without breaks, maybe just short ones to drink water. You will have. So in this field, swimming burn more calories, but swimming burn faster the calories than running. That's the specialty word. Both are good in order to burn calories, but one is faster, you know. So in this field, swimming is the winner too. Impact. This is important. This point is where swimming has much more advantage than running. Swimming has basically zero impact on your body, and it's even recommended as a therapy when you suffer some injury during your life. And it could be practiced no matter the age of the weight of your body, because when you get into the water, your body is weight less than on the land, you know. On the other hand, running has a big impact on your lower part of your body, basically on your feet, and more than anything on your knees. And it's not recommended if you are overweighted or you are too old. But you can see old people practicing swimming until the last days. I saw the other day in an international championship, a guy 102 years, and he competed in a 50 freestyle, and he won. Gain muscle. Maybe it's the only point where running it's better than swimming, and this is because swimming is developed in an environment where you have to carry on with all your body weight. Let me explain you. In this, when you want to gain muscle, you need to like challenge your body to carry more weight and do more repetitions if you want to increase your muscle. But swimming is practicing on the water. Your body weight is less than in the field, in the landfill. So that's why running is better, if you want to say, to gain muscle. But it's only on the lower part of your body, because that's the only part that is practicing all the time and working out. But in this part, it doesn't have the same impact. Maybe it's the only good point for swimming, because swimming involves all the muscles and each part of your body, like the core, back, lower back, quadriceps, biceps, triceps, and shoulders. So maybe this one I will give it to running. Finally, my conclusions, I say that swimming is the most complete sport in the world, because, like I told you, it's a very good cardiovascular exercise. It burns more calorie faster than running. It has zero impact basically in your body, and maybe it's not a good when you want to gain muscle, but it's a good friend. But in that way, running is better. But swimming and running are complementary. They need one for another. One couldn't work without the other one. And sometimes you cannot run and you can swim, and sometimes you cannot swim and you can run. And they are both very good partners when you want to help people to lose weight, for example, to have a better heart rate, or for an athlete that needs to be complementary one with another one. So that will be it, and thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Jaime. So let me stop this. Great, we have it there. It's like 9 minutes 40 seconds. It's okay. It's in the range, right, that we were talking about. Now, in the chat, as always, Jaime, I'm copying and pasting the feedback, general feedback, all right, to see all those details. And there you go. It must be there now. So let's analyze everything in general. As most of you were able to fulfill all the requirements, right, Jaime? You had the question at the beginning and you gave an answer to that question, right? You mentioned some benefits or even a comparison between running and swimming, which was great. And of course, in the conclusion, you had the chance of not only perhaps closing up the explanation or the presentation, you were also able to make and prepare a very short summary of everything that you mentioned, right? So everything was really positive in that sense. All right, so the organization, the information, and everything was really positive. And as always, right, the way you were able to convey this information was always accurate as the way you do it. Just 4 little things that we're going to mention here, perhaps to take care with. The first one is going to be these LEDs, right? When we're going to be using LEDs, it's better to use after that only a base form, or only directly the action or the activity that you want to mention, right? So let's do that, or let's go to do that, something like that, instead of let's go, right? The second one, it is developed. So as you are talking there in a passive way, you need to add the ed at the end, right? It is developed, right? Perhaps it was not that noticeable, but that's one thing that we can pay attention to. And yes, that's why I'm doing this compare. Instead of compare, we're going to say there, this comparison, right? That's why I'm doing this comparison. And the last one, swimming, right? As this is only one thing, it's going to be like the third person, right, rule, and it's going to be swimming burns, right, with an S after the burn. After that, I think that everything was very accurate and very well conveyed, Jaime. I don't know if you have any final questions or concerns regarding that.
No, it's perfect. Thank you. I hope you enjoy it. I really like to do that. Really like it to do that.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jaime. Yes, and actually, now right now I'm going to make some comments on that, and I'm going to let Andrea. I hope Maria Elena joins again soon. Andrea joined after some minutes of your presentation, so perhaps with my comment, she's going to be like aware of this context of your presentation. Right. So you were comparing running and swimming. One really interesting thing that you well taught us with this is the difference, right, that you have in activities in which the air in a certain way is involved, right, and how air can help you in a certain way, right. You need more effort, right, muscular effort if you want to run in a certain way. But for swimming, you said, for example, it can be for any person that is any age, because you are with a sport that is in the water, and in the water you have like less weight, you were saying, right? The way that you have is less. So you were talking also about this example of this elder, right? Elder one. I don't know how old was he, Jaime, that person?
102.
102. Okay, so it's really interesting, right? I think that's something that perhaps cannot happen in other sports because of these benefits that you're talking about, because of these interesting characteristics. And the only perhaps benefit, or the only, let's say, element in which running was, let's say, better was the gaining, right? Muscle, because of this relationship with the air. But as you were mentioning, perhaps it is because, well, the relationship with the air, and only muscles that are on your leg, right? So it's not every muscle that you have in your body that you work when you're talking about running, right? Gaining this muscle over there. But of course, it's because of the elements that you were explaining. So I think everything was really, really interesting. Now I'm going to let Andrea perhaps ask you one question. Andrea, any question related to running or swimming? Jaime was making the comparison and showing why swimming in many of these elements that I perhaps tried to mention was the best. What question can you ask to Jaime, please, Andrea?
Did you ever did a triathlon? This is where you, I think you swim, you run,
We
and
can
you.
hear you, Andrea. It's too
Yes,
soft. Your volume is very low.
a little bit louder, please, Andrea.
It was off. Sorry, it was
Okay, there you go.
my yes. Did you ever did a triathlon?
I can hear you very well, but I think you asked me if I have ever done triathlon in my life.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Yes, I did. I did once, representing my. I work for the Air Force, Bolivian Air Force. So we have like games between like the forces. You know, like the Fuerzas Armadas. I don't know how to say that. Sorry, Jose. They have three. You know, you have Army, you have Air Force, and you have Navy. You know, so if each year you have a competition between like the forces, and it's a sport. They're swimming, they're running, all of them. So I did swimming, I won, everything good. But then the commander told me, like the boss of the Air Force told me, you have to do triathlon. I said I never did that in my life. And it's like, you have to do it. And they believe because I was good in swimming, you can be good of the three of them. But it's not, because there are three sports involved in that: swimming, cycling, and running. So I did good, but I couldn't beat them because is cycling. Is that correct, Jose? It's cycling is I'm not good as in cycling. Like, I'm not good as the guys, that practice cycling. I'm good. I'm a good cyclist, but not like them. So they beat me because it was 10K, no, 20K of riding that. So, and swimming was very short, like 800 meters. So I couldn't get too much advantage with them. So they beat me at the end. I finished like fourth. It was not good. It was not bad, like fourth of 10, but it's not the same. People believe that if you can swim, you can do triathlon. No, it's different. You need to combine all of them.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jaime. So, yes, so you can talk about services when you want to refer to Fuerzas Armadas, or you can say it's simply the exact like translation to that is armed forces. Okay, armed forces or the services. And then yes, okay, you can talk also about biking there, but yeah, I agree with you. I believe that you need a special training perhaps, right, if you want to participate in that kind of let's say contest, because in swimming of course you are specialized in doing everything right but in the water, but of course this triathlon involves way more than that. And of course even if you do that, it's not that it's not the same, right? You need a different kind of training, I imagine.
Yes. Short comment. To short comment. They borrow me a professional bicycle to perform this event, and I
Okay.
never ride one of them. So the brakes, is that correct? The brakes. So the brakes were like, if you touch them, you can fly out of the cycle. So I was using it, practicing, and then I saw rompemuelles. I don't know how to say that. I don't remember the name. And I pushed the brake very hard, so I flew out of the bicycle. I scratched all my arms. So it was one of the worst experience I had that day for me. I was running with like bleeding. My arm was bleeding when I was doing the contest. So it's very hard.
Okay, Jaime. So thank you very much for joining and for sharing all this information. It's really interesting, and we're able to see really that swimming is a really complete sport, as you're mentioning, right? But even though perhaps you have all that experience with that, if you want to participate in different events, as the one Andrea mentioned, you need a special training as well. So I think we're going to be finishing here. Jaime, if you don't have any last comments or questions, we're going to finish with your presentations and go with the last uh, lesson of the day.
No, it's okay. Thank you, Jose.
Thank you, Jaime. So let's go. We're going to work with the last thing, and you know that today is going to be the last class before the class for Monday, which is going to be only for your presentations, right? You know that this time you have only 15 minutes. So please, we have to start on time on Monday because the only thing you're going to do Monday is going to be work on your presentations. You know, but even working with 10-minute presentations, right? Sometimes there was not time for all of you when you were wanting to present there. So we're going to try to do it one after the other one. All right. So the first one is going to begin at 6 o'clock. The next one should be starting at 6:15, and we're going to follow that idea. So we're going to organize this in the way we organize the conversations. All right, so that you know more or less at what time you're going to be starting. I'm going to try to do this in a random way so that we don't know which one is going to be the first one or the second one. But this time I'm going to do that so that you know that you have a specific time. All right, you only have 15 minutes to work on the presentations on Monday. Okay, that's really important. But that having said, we're going to start with the last part of this course, let's say, and it's this one. You know that in a previous lesson, we've covered the structure of oral presentations, but following the TOEFL test. Now we're going to learn a little bit about the Cambridge test. All right, and first I'm going to be showing you here, over here, how this test is like. And there you go. For example, and you're going to read this with me because you're going to be practicing this only exercise by sending a recording to the group, okay, to the WhatsApp group. So this is one sample, right? You can find many, many other samples on the internet, of course, with the TOEFL, Cambridge, and other tests. This is the sample for the speaking part, and this is for the ECCE. All right, it's part of the Michigan Cambridge test, and it's for a B2 level. All right, perhaps it's not the highest level you can get, but it's the most common one. And I believe that all of you would be ready to take this. And even some of you can take the C1 or C2 test, which is the ECP. All right, but this is the ECCE. just for practicing and for learning a little bit more about the structure. So again, this is important because this is for the student or for the person that is going to take the test. And here you have some pictures, very easy to understand, right? And of course, this is also about a decision, right? The way we're doing. That's why also I'm showing you this, because you can apply these words and this idea that I'm going to give you on your Monday's presentations. All right. So with that, let's begin with this explanation. And please, we're going to begin with Valentina. Let's read, please, step 1, Valentina.
Okay, teacher. Step 1. Ask the 3 questions in a different way. It's important to show that you can formulate and reformulate the question. Use complex structures like embed questions. Would you mind if I asked you about?
Thank you very much, Valentina. So this is the first step. You have questions to make to the, let's say, to the test examiner. All right. And you don't have to ask the questions in the same way. And of course, this is part of something that we learned, right? That is paraphrasing or changing words for synonyms. So it's exactly the same. As you can see, you have a situation, and this is the situation. Let's read this one, please. Andrea, let's read the situation, please.
I am your friend. I have a problem. Find out what my problem is and offer me some good advice.
All right, thank you very much. So I'm your friend and I have a problem, right? Find out what my problem is and offer me some good advice. So you have to ask these questions to someone like in a conversation, all right? Like in a very short conversation. And of course, you don't have to ask the questions in the same way. There are many other ways in which you can ask questions. One of those is, for example, this one. This is a very complex structure for asking questions. Would you mind if I asked you about? As you can see, you have even this word that seems to be in the past. You're using mind, you're using would. All right. So this structure is going to let the person that is working with you know and realize that your level is really good and you have the ability of changing, right, the words, of playing with the words and reformulating everything in different words, in this case in your own words. So the first and the very first step for this test, and this is something that you're going to do again for the recording, you are going to ask these 3 questions, okay, in a different way. You're going to pretend that you're having a conversation with someone. You're going to greet, you're going to ask something else, and then you're going to ask these questions. All right, you're going to ask these questions. After that, let's go to the next part. Please, this one, I don't know who else is here. Let's work with you, please, Jaime. Let's read the second step, please.
Step 2. Listen very carefully to the answers for each question. If not taking is not allowed, if not taking is allowed, write important words and adjectives. If not, bear in mind important reasons to use.
Okay, thank you very much. So in the second part, of course, when you ask these questions, right, the ones that are here, someone else is going to give you the answers. This time I'm going to let you know what the answers are. All right, you're just going to record yourself asking the questions and giving the next step that you're going to see. So pay attention to the answers. What is the problem? I'm going to tell you what the problem is. I'm going to tell you the possibilities, right, or the possible solutions, and I'm going to tell you the disadvantages of each solution. All right, and finally, well, we have 2 more things, but this is the most important part. All right, very similar to what you do on the TOEFL test, and something that you can apply also for your presentations on Monday. Let's go back to you, please, Valentina, and let's read step 3.
Step 3. State your opinion following this order. Give your opinion by mentioning what the best opinion is. Tell why it's the best opinion. Tell why the other opinion was not best.
Okay, thank you very much. Just this word, right? It's option, right? So you have options and you have to give your opinion on something. So give your opinion by mentioning what the best option is. Very similar to what we were doing, right? I believe that, I think that, right? This is the best option, or you should do this, or you should do that because of, right? You have to tell why it is the best option, and you have to tell why the other option was not the best. Very similar to perhaps to what you were doing again in your presentations, or we can talk about today's presentation with Jaime, right? When he was talking about running and swimming, and he was making this comparison between these two sports, talking about very specific elements and explaining why one was the best and why the other one was not the best, right? So it's a very, very similar thing that you have to do for Monday. The structure is going to be the same. Introduction, the development with this idea this time, and the conclusion. We're going to see how. But again, as you can see, it's not that different to what you do for the TOEFL, and it's not that different to what you're going to do on Monday. And there you go. The last part, please. Andrea, let's go back to you this time.
Okay, step 4. Answer the questions that are related to the topic. Be concise, don't give too much extra information, use some intensifiers, and embellish your speech.
Thank you very much. So yeah, be concise, right? Concise. This one is going to be intensifiers. So there you go. For your answer, right, you have to be concise. It means go to the main topic, go to your main idea and the words that you meant to mention, but don't go around, right, with other extra explanations that are not needed there. Then related to that, right, don't give too much extra information. This is for today's practice, okay? This is mainly for today's practice. For the exam, or well, let's say the final presentation, you can give extra information because you have 15 minutes, right? So I'm not going to tell you to avoid extra information. The opposite, right? I will tell you to give the most information you can. And the last one, some intensifiers and embellish your speech, right? So try to see and try to show that you can manage, right, and handle the language in a very, very good way by using certain words, right, to give certain intensity, right, the answer, saying why this is the best, that it can cause many positive things, and why this other one is not the best because it can have many dangerous or many really bad disadvantages, right? So try to use these intensifiers to give your answer. All right. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to show you some tips, but mainly, let's go back here. This is the situation. You need to ask me what's happening, right? Then here you also have what you need to do, right? When you have all the information you need, explain which solution you think is the best and why. And finally, right after you have shared your advice, you will be asked more questions about the topic. And that's what we're going to be doing. And of course, it's related to the pictures you have here. All right. This is going to be like very short again. To answer that, sorry, to ask the questions, you should use like 30 seconds at most. Okay. And then to tell which option was the best and which was not the best and why, you should have 1 minute as maximum. All right. So you should be sending to the group, to the WhatsApp group, maximum 1 minute to 1 minute and 30 seconds answers. All right. And again, we're going to work with that. But before going to that part, to that specific part, here you have some tips, as I did in the last presentation. So Jaime, let's read please the first 2 tips that you have here.
Before I read, I have a question, dear Jose.
Tell me, Jaime.
So we have to listen something. I didn't get that very well. We have to listen something and get a response and base it on that, like TOEFL, when they give you a topic to talk.
Yes, in the TOEFL you only had like a question, right? That was written, a written question, right? Which one of these options is the best? So in the TOEFL is only like reading that and then giving your answer. The difference with this Cambridge test is that yes, you have something to listen to. All right. In this
Okay.
case, I'm
And
going
based
to
it on
be
that, you have to give your response.
exactly because I'm going to tell you what the disadvantages of this option and this option is or are, and on the yes, on the basis on that, you're going to give me your response.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. Thank you.
Tips.
So
To show what the best opinion is, try to use transition words and phrases like, in my opinion, personally, I think, believe that. To give reasons, use tradition words, phrase, and phrases like because, for, as, since to give a reason.
thank you very
I
much.
continue. Do I continue?
Yes. Let's continue, please.
Support the
Just
reason
use
with
more.
some examples or facts. To support the reason with some example of facts, use transition words or phrases like, for instance, for example, to illustrate, as a matter of fact, in fact,
Okay.
to,
And let's finish
to
up.
restate some disadvantages that were mentioned, use traditional words, phrases like, as you mentioned it, as it was mentioned before, according to you.
Thank you very much, Jaime. So there you go. This is the very first thing you're going to do, right? After you ask the questions, hey, tell me what's the problem, right? You are going to say, well, in my opinion, right, or personally, I believe that, and you continue with your idea. To give reasons, because it's the most common one. But if you want to vary a little bit, you can use these ones, very close to for the TOEFL, right? Remember, to support your ideas, you have these ones again. I showed you this before. And this one that is different, some disadvantages that were mentioned, you have to use these phrases or similar ones that you know to like recap, all right, or to use someone else's words. In this case, you're going to be using my words because I'm going to be reading something for you, right, relating to this. And that's it. Now let's go to the next part. And Valentina, let's read this with you,
Sorry, teacher, to show or to conclude?
where is it? No, to show is going to be there.
Okay. To show why the other option was not the best, try to use these transition words and phrases. I don't believe that. Contrary to that, the other option, it's hard to imagine that. As for the other option.
There you go. And also the next part, please, Valentina, to conclude.
To conclude your opinion, try to use these transition words and phrases. Because of all those reasons, that's why, therefore, thus, etc. Useful expressions: I agree with, I disagree with, I'm for, I'm against, I never thought, I have always thought.
There you go. Thank you very much, Valentina. So the very first thing that we're going to do, okay, you are going to listen together here in class because I'm going to read for you the answer to those questions, okay? But the first thing that I want you to do, please, and I'm going to give you that, okay? Here, you have these three questions. Please try to think. I'm going to give you 1 minute for this, all right? 1 minute for this. But what you have to do, try to restate these questions and try to ask them in a different way. But of course, before you can introduce yourself or you can pretend that you're having a conversation with someone very, very shortly. All right. This is what you have to record. I'm going to give you an example, but I'm not going to change the questions. All right. So that you can do it very well. So you can say, in this case, I'm going to read the question for you. So it's going to be a problem, right? You can say, hi, Jose. Hi, Luis. Right? I think that you have a very, very big problem, right? What is the problem? What are some possible solutions? What are the disadvantages of each solution? All right, that's what you have to do. That's what you have to record. But please don't say and don't read the questions the way they are written here. You have to ask the same questions, but in a different way. Even you can use some synonyms instead of problem, right? You can talk about trouble. All right. I know that you have some trouble, right? Tell me what's happening. As you were able to see, I asked this question in a different way. Also this one and this one. Okay, do you understand? This is the very first thing. Just that. It's going to be an audio of no more than 30 seconds. All right, that's going to be like the maximum. You only have to say hi, right? Realize or notice that there's a problem there and ask these questions in a different way. Do you have any questions? This is the very first thing we're going to do and the recordings you're going to send. All right.
Jose, one quick question.
Yes, tell me, Jaime.
So we have to, but what is the problem? We have to like say made up a problem.
Here, no, first you're going to ask, and the problem I'm going to tell you. When you send the recordings, first I just want to hear how you're going to formulate and reformulate the questions. Okay, I want to see
okay. So you want to ask you like, how are you, something like that, no?
Exactly. Hi, Jose.
Okay.
How are you? And asking these three questions. Okay, these three questions, all of you, so that we're going to listen how you ask the questions, and then when we finish listening to what you sent, I'm going to tell you what the problem is, what are the possible solutions, and the disadvantages.
Okay, thank you.
All right, perfect. So please, if it's clear, Andrea and Valentina also, let's work with that. 1 minute, maximum 2 minutes. You have to record this, so use your cell phones, right? I know that some of you use cell phones to join the class, so if you need to leave the class to record your answer, do it, and you can come back. All right? Again, you only need to send one recording of maximum 30 seconds. Saying hi, saying, oh, I know that you have a problem, and reading, well, not reading, formulating these questions in different words. All right, let's work with that, please. All right, so we're waiting for you. I think Valentina and Andrea, you didn't send it yet. Okay, there you go. There's one more. Just one more is missing, please. All right, so Andrea is going to send it in a moment, right? She went out. In the meantime, let's listen to what you did. We're going to begin with you, please, Jaime. I'm going to play this, and we're going to see the way you did it.
Hello, my friend. How are you? I see you look anxious and it looks like you have a problem. Can you tell me that? I can help you and maybe give you an advice.
All right,
Hi
that's one, and this is Valentina's one.
there, how are you? I heard your voice a little sad in your audio. Can you tell me if something happened to you or if you have a problem?
There you go. All right. So both of you, right, were able to perhaps formulate and have a different way to approach to this question. It's sometimes unavoidable, right, to use same words, but you did it. Now, I'm going to read for you. Well, I'm going to wait perhaps for Andrea for this one, but I would like you to do this one in the meantime, please. Let's try to send, please. I'm going to read the problem for you, but read the two following questions in the same way. All right? Again, try to reformulate both questions so that I can read everything for you at once. Okay? This time is going to be organized in a different way, but is to, for not to waste some time, right? Try to ask the following two questions. What are some possible solutions? And what are the disadvantages of each solution? All right? The same in a different audio and ask them in a different way, right? Using your own words. I have also Andrea here. All right, so let's work with that, please, Jaime, Valentina. Ask the following two questions in different words and send it to the group as well.
I didn't understand, Jose. Do we have to send a question for you?
Yes, the following two questions that you have on my screen, I think it's there. It says, what are some possible solutions and what are the disadvantages of each solution, right? So try to send an audio, or if you want two different ones, in which you ask these two questions, but in different words, all right? Those two questions in different words. What are some possible solutions and what are the disadvantages?
But we don't have to respond, we have to ask.
Exactly, only ask.
Okay.
Only ask the questions.
Okay.
All right, perfect. All right. So we're going to start, well, continue actually, right? We already listened to the first, voice messages that you sent related to the first question. I was also listening to Andrea's one. Andrea did all the questions right at once, so we have everything ready there. So the only one perhaps that is missing in the last part is going to be you, Valentina. If you can ask the last two questions in different words, with that we're going to be ready. But let's continue listening. Andrea, you were reading right the first part, but after that you restated the questions in a different way. So let me play that for everybody.
Would you tell me some options to fix when is offer me some good advice?
Okay.
What's the situation? Would you tell me some options to fix this problem? Would you tell me the flaws in of each situation?
All right, there you go. So that was your way, right, of asking this using different words, perhaps some synonyms, talking about a situation instead of the problem, talking about some options, right, instead of possible solutions. So you approached, right, in a different way, and that's why I asked. So that's great. Now let's go back to you, Jaime. This is what you recorded. Let me play it.
As I see, you have two possible solutions for the problem that you have. Maybe what you have to do is analyze each one carefully. For example, look at the advantages of taking each decisions, or more important, start to think which could be the disadvantage of taking one of the options of these solutions. It's important to see the disadvantages of each decision. Look if the decision will harm anyone else beside you, and also if it's a good decision for your life, and if it helps you to solve the problem.
There you go, right? So Jaime, you were able even to give more information, add more ideas there, right? So that the questions are even more complete or clearer, right? So that's really positive. And you have all the questions there, right? You made the first one at the very beginning, and then you have the last two over here. And this is Valentina's one.
I want to help you. We can think of a solution together and then analyze what could go wrong with each solution, the advantage and the disadvantage.
All right, there you go. So again, right, this is what you have to do. I think you were working this in a really positive way. Why? Because you are using your words, right? And that's what you have to do. You need to feel comfortable with the language. What, again, this is only if you take this test. But if you don't take it, this needs to be like helping, all right, for you in the sense that you need to think of different ways, right, of saying one thing. And this is what we did at the beginning of the course. Remember, paraphrasing using synonyms, it's the same. You always have to look different ways of saying the same exact idea. Why? Because that's going to help a lot, right, in increasing and improving your speaking skills. All right. Again, I think you did a great job. Now, what I'm going to do, you may be seeing the same thing. It's there. The screen is like there. All right. I paused the sharing option. Now I'm going to read. Please pay special attention to this. All right. I'm going to read this only once. Okay, only once. If you want, you can take notes. Of course, it's not going to be complex. It's very simple. You're going to see it's very simple. But take some notes because you have to use my words. All right, you have to use my words to give me your real answer. All right, after I finish this, I'm going to tell you what the problem is. I'm going to tell you the two possible solutions, and I'm going to tell you the disadvantages of each solution. All right, I'm going to do this right now. But again, take notes because for your answer, you need to tell me what's the best option, why it is the best option, and why the other option is not the best. Okay? And of course, you have to do it in a very personal way. Like, in my opinion, personally, I think that because of this, because of that, and so on and so forth. All right, remember that. And this time I'm going to share this with you. This one over here. Remember that you can use these words, these transitions. All right, in my opinion, Personally, I believe that for, right, it said that since it causes lots of problems, etc., etc. All right, so try to use these words over here. All right, I'm going to leave the screen over there, and I'm going to read the information for you. So, Jaime, are you ready? I'm going to be asking this one by one. Are you ready, Jaime, to listen to it?
Just a feedback, a short feedback. You will respond my questions, and I
Exactly.
will give you a final advice, right?
Exactly. That is correct.
Okay, go ahead. I'm ready.
Perfect. And Valentina, what about you? Are you ready to listen to the information?
Yes, teacher, I'm ready.
Thank you. And what about you, Andrea?
We have to say what's the best option, why, and what else?
And why the other option is not the best?
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So here I go. Please take note if you need. This is my problem. Well, my problem is the following. My 10-year-old nephew wants a cell phone so that he can text message all his friends. We think this is a bad idea because he will be distracted in school and his grades may suffer as a result. I have thought of two possible solutions. The first one is to tell him to just message or email his friends on the computer at home so that he doesn't have to use his cell phone. The second option is that, well, he has to wait until he's 12 to get a cell phone. I was analyzing the disadvantages of both options, and well, the disadvantage for the first one is that he might keep or he might want to keep other family members from using the computer. And of course, if he is going to use the computer, he needs supervision. So I think that's the disadvantage or the disadvantages. And the disadvantage for the second option, right, waiting until he's 12, well, is that he will feel left out, all right, and he might not like going to school. I mean that he's going to feel bad because of this decision to wait a lot for having the cell phone. So we believe that this is going to have like a bad impact, right, emotionally speaking, and wanting to work in school. So that's it. All right, that's it. Now, with that information, please, you're going to send a last recording before having a last discussion with this. Tell me, right, what's the best option according to you, why it is the best option, add some ideas that you have. Tell me why the other option is not the best one, right? Why am I discarding the other option? And that's it. All right. You can use from 30 to well, from 30 seconds to 45 seconds. Let's try to keep it there, but you can go up to 1 minute if it's necessary. All right. So 30 seconds minimum and 1 minute maximum. You can do it. All right, the only one that is missing is Valentina. I imagine that she's recording the answer and we're going to start checking this. But again, of course, there's a purpose. I already mentioned the purpose. You are going to apply this in the last presentation. Jaime, I think you already did it, right? Because you were following this logic, choosing the option, talking about advantages, disadvantages, and why perhaps, right, in this case, running was not the best option in your case, right, personally speaking, but also showing some facts. So that's what you have to do on Monday. But it's going to be, of course, that you have 15 minutes to do it. And this time, remember that you have like a range of 20 seconds less or 20 seconds more. If it's less than that or if it's more than that, it's going to affect the score this time. All right. So we're going to, well, I think Valentina is going to join soon again. So in the meantime, Jaime, we're going to listen to your answer. And Andrea, please, let's pay attention. We're going to discuss about this. And also, Jaime, we're going to pay attention to Andrea's answer. So let's listen to it.
Oh, my dear friend, I see you having a normal problem of the 21st century. But in my personal opinion, I think the best option that you can do is like let him to test from the computer and email his friends to the computer. Maybe that will give you some complications. Maybe he will try to use the computer all the time. But another short solution that you can use is maybe buy a small tablet or a laptop so he can use that and control it with a password so you can know who is texting him or something like that or talking to. But I think that's the best decision because the other one is not a good solution because he's very young to have a cell phone. There's a lot of responsibility in order to have a cell phone, and he's maybe not old enough to understand the dangers of having a cell phone. How dangerous could be texting or receiving information for strangers. So that's my personal opinion. As you mentioned, it's your decision, but I think you have to take into account what I'd say.
There you go. Okay, so in your case, right, Jaime, you were like inclined to choose the, let me see, the first option if I'm not wrong, right? Using the computer instead of giving him a cell phone or making him wait until he's a certain age, right? Now let's listen to Andrea's one and we're going to try to compare your answers. And don't worry, with this, we're going to finish because actually this is the last thing of this class.
Personally, I think that the best option is to buy him a cell phone when he's 12, because this way he's gonna be able to communicate not only with his friends but with his family in case of an emergency, or to make some things easier, like when you have to pick him up in somewhere, or he wants to go to a friend's house, or he needs something. And the other option, the disadvantage of the other options are as you mentioned, that you have to supervise him anyways about what the things that he looks online, and he will feel left out from his friends for not having a cell phone.
There you go. And Valentina is sending one. I think she made a mistake, but great. I think this is perfect because you chose different options, right? In Jaime's case, he was on the side of using the computer, right, to send messages and emails, right, to his friends. And in Andrea's case, right, she was on the side of waiting until he's 12 years old so that he can use the cell phone. But of course, that waiting period can be negative. But anyway, Andrea was mentioning interesting things about that, right? The benefits of having a cell phone, in which positive ways he can use that cell phone. And finally, she mentioned the disadvantages of using the computer, right? Mainly the supervision, that anyway, if it's going to have a cell phone or a computer, he's going to need to be supervised, right? So Andrea took that as a disadvantage. Now, to conclude this, please, and I want to know some personal right opinion on that. You did give your personal opinion, but using the ideas that you have there. But Jaime, here, what extra ideas can you add to your option? I'm going to do the same with Andrea, all right, so that we can finish this up with more complex ideas. How can you support the option that you chose now, Jaime, with some extra information, just to have a discussion over here, letting him use the computer instead of waiting until a certain age to use a cell phone? What things do you think are beneficial for him besides the ones and the ones that you mentioned? What can you add to that, please?
Sorry, you're asking me why to support my idea, my decision, right?
Exactly. With extra information that you have that you personally can say
That sometimes we rush. I see in people like and parents that they rush the process, you know. I know it's a necessity, it's essential to have a cell phone today for many reasons, even more with the COVID and the pandemic and everything. But there has to be an age when you see not a specifically number, but maybe a mental age. You know, when your child it's ready to take their decisions, is ready to have a responsibility with him. Because if no, you can face some problems with that he having a phone like I don't know, someone spying some pictures, even kidnapping today. It's a very dangerous thing in the world. So that's the reason why I think it's better if you manage the information through the computer that you have access to. Because another problem, if you give him a phone since he's very young, he will be like, it's my phone, so I do whatever that I want with my phone. I will not respect or let you check or research what he's doing on his phone.
Okay.
I think that would be basically the
Perfect.
response one.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jaime. Of course, you have many valid, right, facts, many valid information, much valid information related to, right, a person that is a certain age that is not able because of maturity, because of many other facts, right, of using or knowing how to use a cell phone properly. So Jaime is on the side of having this idea of using the computer because you have supervision, right, on that. Now, what about you, Andrea? Because you were on the side of the second option this time. What extra information or what other facts can you, well, tell us to support even more your idea, Andrea?
This a cell phone can, if you introduce like a cell phone, but you supervise too, like let your kid or a child show you what he does with his cell phone. You can't give him some responsibility, but at the same time show him trust. And I think that is dangerous, but a lot of things are dangerous, like carrying a bag or carrying something that is expensive is dangerous too. So is give him some responsibility little by little. I feel responsible to him.
All right, thank you very much. Again, you have valid arguments, and the idea of trust, I think that's the strongest one, right? It's interesting because Andre is also mentioning that yes, you can give him a cell phone. Perhaps having the computer is like more like at home, right? You're going to have more control on that. But Andre is also mentioning that you can also supervise perhaps the cell phone. But again, I think the strongest argument over there is the trust, right? It's interesting that you can say, I can trust you. Of course, you're going to have some limits. I'm going to supervise you also while you use the cell phone, perhaps certain times, perhaps in a certain or in specific places, right? So I think that's really interesting. Now let's finish this up with Valentina's answer. I'm going to play it, and you're going to give your last opinion on this, please, Valentina. So let me play your audio first.
I understand the problem. In my opinion, you should buy him a cell phone because now all the kids have one, and in that way you can teach him responsibility. For example, my little brother has a cell phone and he's 11 years old, but he has schedules to use it. For example, you can have a deal with him, and you with the condition that you will have all his passwords, and in that way you can feel more secure. I don't know, that's my opinion.
There you go. Thank you very much. So let's add something again, Valentina. So Jaime, it was on the side of using the computer, so that this person, in this case, right, this 10-year-old kid, is only able to use the computer at home to email the friends, right? First option. But in your case, I think you were on the side on Andrea's side, in the sense that you decide that it's a good idea, right, of giving him a cell phone, but under certain conditions, right? If he follows a specific schedule, and of course, if you have access to the password. So you were mentioning very interesting things. Now, again, and to finish with your opinion, because Jaime and Andrea did the same, what extra information or extra facts can you use to support even more your decision, Valentina? What other things are beneficial about using a cell phone at that age? Remember, this is a 10-year-old kid, but he's going to have access to the cell phone at 12, all right, when he is 12 years old. So what benefits do you see for a 12-year-old kid in using a cell phone? And perhaps what other disadvantages do you see in not giving him a cell phone, Valentina?
Well, the advantage that you can teach him the responsibility of having a cell phone, but he's very young. But with the schedules, he can he will be more responsible. I don't know. My little brother has one, and he is 12 years old. And with the schedules and the responsibility, for example, my mother is see her cell phone every day, and he didn't use Facebook. He only used TikTok, so it's an easy way to 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 be responsible. I don't know. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you very much, Valentina. And thank the three of you. All right. Again, this is not to see which one is the best, right? Which one is like right over here. Of course, this is a very big debate, right? You have this here because, as Jaime mentioned, this is a very well-known problem for the right 21st century. We are in a technological age, and we need to know, right, how to use these devices, how to control them, the access that our children, right, are going to have to them, the limits, some parameters, rules, etc., etc. So of course, we learn, right? Perhaps we are young. I don't know if some of you have children or not, if you're going or if you're planning on having them. But the idea is that you have at least some nephews, right, or some nieces, so you know what's the logic with this, right, or your brothers or little sisters. So you know more or less how this works. And of course, this is a very big debate. There are many sides on this, mainly these two sides, right, of giving them or not access to these technological devices. But the idea is that you have the logic there, which is, I think, responsibility, right? Responsibility and some supervision or control on that. So I think either option that you choose, perhaps we're of course uh, not following if you see the screen, right? There are the exact options and the exact disadvantages. Of course, we're not following that exactly, but we're going further, right? And we're adding so much information because that's always positive. And actually, what I was doing is part of the last, okay, part of the test in which the examiner is going to ask you some questions like this or very similar to that one, and you have to be able to answer. All right, but that's it. All right, this is the structure of the Cambridge. As you can see, it's not hard. It's really easy. You're just going to be showing your skills with speaking, how you can organize your ideas, how you can comprehend, right, and acquire certain information to convey your opinion using that information, using certain expressions, phrases, and so on and so forth. So remember that you have this, even this document, okay, is in the folder, A14 folder, and you have all the presentations there. If anytime by, I don't know, any reason you're going to take any of these tests, the TOEFL or the Cambridge, you have this information there and you know more or less how to practice. Now we're finishing the class here. I'm showing you the poll right now. I want to ask you if you have any final questions before finishing this class. Remember that Monday, the last day, your oral presentation, right? 15 minutes. Before the class, I'm going to send you your schedule, all right? Like
There is
in the
any
conversation.
specific structure for this presentation, or we can choose any of that we want to?
Actually, it's going to be this last one, Jaime, and actually it's the one that you did apply today. 15 minutes, an introduction in which you ask yourself a question again, and you have to decide between two options. And you have to tell which option you are choosing, all right? And the development is what you did here, and it's very close to what you did in your presentation, Jaime, talking about why this is the best option, benefits, right? And why the other one was not the best option, some disadvantages about that. And the conclusion, the way you did it, it was perfect. And your partner did it the same way, so the conclusion is not going to change. The introduction is also going to be the same, a question, an answer, and that. The only thing that is changing, again, is that in the last presentation, you were focusing on only benefits of the option that you chose. But this time, and again, it's something that you did, and I think some of your partners too, you have to also talk about the disadvantages of the other option. But it's the same. That's the structure that we need to follow, Jaime. Okay? If you have any questions, please let me
Excellent.
know.
Thank you, Jose. Appreciate it.
Great. You're welcome, Jaime. So with that said, I think that is everything. Just one of you is missing with the poll. As soon as you can do it, then the class is over. All right. I hope you enjoy your weekend. Try to prepare. You can use the information you used, right, for this presentation. And that's it. I'll see you on Monday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you, teacher. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a
You're
good night.
welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.